the plastic roast. Be demons on my table, feeling the overload. Hand-painted figures lined up on the edge. In my basement, dreamland on the cutting edge.
G'day viewers, I'm Pinky, welcome to the channel. Today we're just doing a really quick build video on the Syds Bridge, which is our tribute to the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It's number one in our Aussie icons range, and it's a bit of a favourite. It's quite a popular piece. Now, as many of you know that have looked at this bridge before, it is designed to take a Carrera track right through the centre. It also fit Skeletrix, but also it will fit two AFX quite comfortably, as you can see there. So there's plenty of room for that. So you can actually come up over the bridge and back again. Anyway, I'm not going to waste your time. Let's get into the build video. Okay, welcome to the video. So first thing you'll find is a whole bunch of these different straps and pieces that you've pulled out of your boards. The simplest way to get started is to understand that whatever we do to one side, we're also going to do to the other, which means that any parts that are needed will be doubled up. So while you're still trying to figure out what's what, the quickest and simplest way to get started is to go through the batches of things that are the same and split them into two lots. Okay, so like in this case, for example, we have all these pieces here that don't have any tab holes in them. Okay, and you can see there's 4 long and 2 short, so that would be 2, 2, 1, and 1. All right, so we're just splitting it up like that. Same thing with the ones that have the tab hole. You split that into 2 lots. Okay, that makes it a little bit easier. As we're starting to do that, we're narrowing down our pieces and where they belong. We've got our 2 little hockey sticks. Okay, so we can do the same thing. Split that into 2. What I'll do is push that right over there, and because we're going to be doing one side at a time. And if you go through these, you'll find there's only a few shapes in here. It's just that there's quite a few pieces. So when we're looking at this shape particularly, with this curve, we can actually bring them together. You can see that those are a much tighter radius than the others. So we've got 4 of those, and then, see that one doesn't belong in there, we'll get rid of that guy. And then there's another 4 there. So we've got 4 and 4. Again, that splits into the 2 sides of the bridge. Now looking at these, we've got a couple of shorter ones here, like that. All right, then these are all the same length. So now we're down to 4 of those. So there'll be 2 for one side and 2 for the other. And the same sort of thing in here. Now, these are actually exactly the same if you flip them over, right? See that? It's just that there's burn marks from the laser. So I've got them set up. We actually do them as lefts and rights, and it's only really about the burn, nothing else. So if you look at that, you'll see we've got 4 going one way and 4 going the other. Now, it doesn't really matter if you get them mixed up. As I said, they're exactly the same. It's just the burn. So we split that into 4 and 4, 4 with the one half and 4 with the other half. That's how we set all of those parts aside. Now we go through this stuff here. You would have seen all these extra bits and pieces. I've already made that one there, so you can see how that goes together. But basically, these 4 pieces here, they should have been in your board like that, already together. Okay, those 4 pieces basically roll around and make it this piece here. So that's pretty straightforward. Now this one here, you'll find there's only really 2 sort of sets of these, if you like, an inside and an outside section that makes up the leg at the end of the bridge. That's a full set, and that's a full set. So basically you've got these 4 pieces here. Again, they're tagged, okay, so they can actually go together like so, all right, and a top. And then we have the 4 boards here and a top that wrap around the outside of that once that one's built. So we'll take a quick break and we'll get into this. Okay, so now that we've sorted all of that out, put them all into their individual groups, you can see here that these are just tabbed to go together. Now if you look for these little cutouts in the top here, so that's obviously a top and that's a top. So they'll go together like that, just round basically in a square. All right. In you go. All right. And then this guy goes in the top. All right. That sort of keeps everything square while you're gluing it. All right. So then just a few beads of glue on the inside. So what I normally do is pull one of these off. I get my glue. And I just run a line down there, around the top there. Right. Then I'll put a couple of dollops in there, just easier than trying to get in there with the glue. Right, stick that back on. All right. Finish off with a couple of lines down there. That's it. That's built. So we'll let that sit and dry for a moment, and then we'll wrap the outside. While that's drying, we'll have a look at this other setup here for the. That's another set of those. We'll put those aside. There's no point watching us do that twice. And this is the other little set that makes the actual support for the bridge. So I try to go burns in all the time. It's really not that big a deal. They're not three-dimensional or rough or anything. It's just discoloration. And if you're going to paint it, well, it doesn't really matter. You probably discover your own little technique for putting these together, but that's just how I do it. And then I'll run another bead of glue in there, just like that. Pop this guy in. All right, now the good thing about this one is you can actually get to enough of it from each end. There we go. All right, and we'll just let that one sit aside and dry. So by now this should be dry enough to wrap. Okay, so what we're looking at trying to do here is put this one on this side here, aligning those holes. So we can just put a few drops of glue like that. Now it's a good time to be very particular about getting those holes aligned correctly. There we go, it's looking pretty good. And so I don't risk bumping it, I'm going to leave that for a minute. We'll come back to that one in just a moment. All right, so we'll let that dry and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, so we're back. Now, the next thing that we can do is glue these sides on. All right. Actually lay that down like that. It'll align with the front. And then just drop a glue on the back there. This guy can go on next. What I'm doing, I'm actually aligning this by using the table. Just like that. And then one more here. Right, just butting against that one. And then just to cap it all off, tidy the top up, we're just going to put that guy on the top. Just like that. There we go. All right. That can just sit aside and dry. And while that's drying, you can work on the other leg. All right, so the next thing we're going to work on is one side of the bridge. Now, if we take one side here, it really doesn't matter, again, which side is which. I like to work with the burns all on the same side. It doesn't really make a difference to the cuts. It's just aesthetics. Okay, so that should align like that. Nice and simple. Now, we take our set of these three flat sections with our tab holes, and we're going to put those in the center here. And it should line up with those holes pretty closely. Now, I wouldn't recommend gluing it just yet. Just hold off a bit. And you'll see here, we've got a shorter section here than we do here for the first hole. So that shorter section is going to be here. And I will put that on this side so I can hide my burns. And, well, we might grab one of the others. Might sit a little better. I reckon that guy there. There we go. Like I said, it doesn't really matter, just being a little bit fussy. All right, that should all line up with those holes. Okay, now what you can do from here is take these three boards, right, two longer and one shorter. Take your shorter one, burns up, and drop that straight into the center here. Okay, so what I try to do is I put it on there, get that first one on, like that, nice and firm. All right, and then I'll run a drop of glue in here. And just like that. Okay, we line that up with those holes, and that'll glue those two together. It'll make it a little bit stiffer. Okay, you can do the same sort of thing here, where we get our next board. And going to be face up again. Straight in onto there. All right. And then what we can do is line that up, slide that into place underneath that other board. And then that first pin should drop in. There we go. Then we can line up the others from there. Alright, it's a little bit fiddly, but once you've got it lined up, there we go, it'll all drop into place. Okay, now what you can do, once you've done a test run like that and you know what you're doing, you can actually lift this back up again, right, and run your bead of glue in on here. And then go for it. There we go. Back together, nice and solid. We'll slide that this way, and we'll go again on this side. So we get our other board, same thing. Line that up there first. Right. And again, we're going to run our bead of glue here. We'll slide into there. Okay. There we go. Stiff one. There we go. Lovely. Right. Now you can run a bead of glue across the back of here if you like, just to give it a bit of extra strength. Right, that's all that needs. That's done. There you go. That's how that goes together. Now, this is where your other pieces, these are going to be on the outside. And these pieces here, quite simply, we've got these four. We've got these two that are radius, but they're not as tight a radius. These ones actually go up here. Okay, and it should just align with the edge of this part of the frame on both sides here. Okay, so you can glue that on if you like. One there. Right, is that one? Now we save one for the outside. Now we've got two in here. So we'll just flip those over so the burns are facing the right way. Okay, and these ones, now you can see they've got a cut end on them. They actually sit down here like that. They sit against this spot here. And it should meet right in the middle of that post there. All right. Now you can see a bit of a gap here. Right, see that? I don't know if you pick it up on the camera, but you want to try and avoid that. So what we're trying to do at the moment is just put a few drops of glue, particularly right near the join. Come around there. Okay, put that first one on. Now you've only got a few, if you're using super glue, you've only got a few seconds to get this right. But you don't have to use super glue, you can use PVA. PVA does a really good job, any sort of woodworking glue. All right. There we go. We'll give it a couple of seconds and it should grab that enough that it's not going to pull open. That's what we want. Now we can do the one on the other side. Right, same thing, straight on there. We'll pull that together, give it a bit of a push down. All right, a couple of seconds. There we go. It's pretty much grabbed already. All right. Again, put 2 aside for the outside of the bridge. Now we've got these guys here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to swap a couple of lefts and rights around. That way I don't have to worry about the burns again. All right, so again, 2 for the inside, 2 for the outside. Now they've got a very slight kink to one end, and that's going to be right here. And the straight section runs down this part of the bridge here. So we're going to glue that. And that's going to butt up against the other one. And it shouldn't make it all the way down. It should just finish pretty much in line with that last sort of corner here, if you like. All right, that's it. And we'll do the same down here. Right, that's the inside garnishes on. Now, if you find there's a couple of little gaps in a couple of spots, don't stress too much. You can use a little bit of filler or something like that. Car body filler if that's all you got, or just your modelling filler, whatever. Or you can fill it with some super glue and baking soda. That's a good way to fill it off, and then just sand it down. All right, so we've got one side of the bridge pretty much done. So now we'll put that aside. We'll get our components for the other side of the bridge. Then we're going to do the same thing. Now, it is a little fiddlier, and what I recommend with this one is working backwards. So instead of putting this on and putting everything on top of this, we're going to go the other way. We're going to take our 3 inner straps, okay, and just being very mindful of which way's up, which way, everything is sort of facing. Okay, so you should have your parts laid out now. What we're going to try and do now is assemble this side of the bridge. With this side of the bridge, we're not going to build it here and try to pick all of this section up and load that up on top. What we're going to do is we're going to work backwards to that. So the first thing we're going to do is take our middle brace and stick that on there. All right, and we'll put some glue on there. There we go. And I'm just going to grab another glue. These are really good. They're like packs of 5 from Bunnings for a couple of dollars, which is pretty cheap. All right, then we're going to take this one, put it on here, like that. A couple of drops of glue there. Go. And then we're going to do that one. Again, a couple of drops of glue here. And we're going to put our centre on. Just remember that it does overlap, so just keep that in mind as you're lining it up. You can always just look at both ends visually and you can see where you need to go. All right, start from the middle if you like that, and that should all line up with those. All right, very nice. There you go. There we go. A bit tight, that one. All right, lovely. And then these ones here next. Right. Right, there we go. Both sides of the bridge are on. Now you can flip it over and do the inside first, or you can just work from this side. It doesn't really matter. But as I said before, these parts are the same. Essentially, there's 4 sets. So what we're going to look at doing is we might as well pinch these ones. These would have been the other side of here, but it's all the same. So we'll use these guys. And what we're going to do, we'll start with the flat plates. We'll put them on here. Make sure that's down all the way. All right, that one seems to be, which is good. So I'll run along there and put that one in position there. And all I'm going to do is line it up with the edge of this frame. You know that's the centre. All right, so get yourself pretty much in the centre and then use that as your guide to just make sure you're right where you're supposed to be. Right, one along here, and that one will just butt up to that one. Right. If you're having a bit of trouble with things sticking up a little bit, just get yourself some ball clamps. Just whack them on there like that. I'll keep it down there. All right, that's sitting pretty well. So now the next thing we'll do is these other garnishes. So just like before, we've got one up the top here. Which will be this one. Hang on, where are we? That one there. All right. And don't forget to line that up with those sides of the frame there. It doesn't really matter what order you do these in. I'm going to clear that clamp. Whoops, wrong one. Where are we? There we go. Oh, not quite. Okay. It's probably dry by now anyway. There we go. All right, so stick that one on there. Like that. Pull that together. Okay. Right. And now this side. And these guys. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now these guys here, the little boomerangs, or the little hockey sticks, they go down the bottom here. All right, so we're just going to run a bead down there, like that. All right, so we'll give that 5 minutes to dry and then we'll come back. Okay, so now that we've got all that done, we can actually flip the bridge over and start work on the other side. So inside, outside, doesn't really matter what order you do it in. It's all going to work out fine. All right, so just like before, we'll run our glue along here. Take our 3 flat boards and we're going to put that in position there. Again, remember just to line those up with that. Now that's got a bit of slight bow in it, so we'll get a ball clip. And we'll shove this guy on. I need to do that one as well, I think. A very slight bow. Tends to happen from time to time. All right, there we go. Very good. Stick our hockey sticks on. Now, because we haven't done the inside of this one yet, you'll have a double up of all of this stuff. So grab yourself 2 lefts and 2 rights, one of each of those, one of each of those, one of each of those. There we go. Put those aside for a second. And we'll get on to this bit here. Okay, so starting from here, so we'll go right round. If you're not feeling confident about how fast you're going, that's fine. Just do a couple of bits at a time. Okay. So you should find, if you're not too sure, it's the shorter one of these. The radius, you can kind of tell they're slightly different, but it's easier to just recognise that it's a little bit shorter. So we're going to put that guy right there, like that. Okay, we're going to line up with those. If you're not sure which one, it lines up with that. Right, so follow that up there. Okay, we're going to get our ones with a little bit of a bend on the end there. Right, these 2 next. Okay, should I take a couple of seconds to grab? All right, so what we'll do, spin that around like that. And you may not see this very well on camera, but I'll just quickly do those inside ones. Skip through this bit if you want. Okay. Hopefully you're not getting shots at the top of my head. I apologise if you are, but It's just the angle we're on, because quite a big piece. I've got the camera out of fair way, so it's picking up on everything. There we go. Right. Now, the only thing we didn't do yet was just to run that other line of glue along the bottom here. Now, we obviously did the other side, if you remember, so we'll do this side as well. Get rid of the bull clips. We don't need those now. I'll just spin that around. Is that one empty? Oh, running out of glue again. Jeez, going through it today. Yep, run through all of them. Wow, okay. Okay. Now, so the next thing is going to be, we're actually going to go this way. All right. And we're going to get these boards here. And what we have is 4 smaller boards and 2 larger boards. So we're going to take 2 and 1. 2 and 1. So we're going to start with, obviously, we could just chuck one in the middle. That's where it's going to end up anyway, but it might be a little bit hard to judge exactly where that goes. So we'll actually start with an end one. So what we'll do is we will put a bit of glue on there. This helps to stiffen everything up, having this extra board underneath. Right. So what we'll do is just line that up with the end of the bridge. Nice snug fit, that's what you want. Lovely. All right. And we'll do the middle. Wow. I think I got jibbed on these ones. They seem to have a lot less glue than usual. Or maybe it's just me going a bit crazy with the glue. Who knows? All right. It's a big piece. It's probably the amount of glue I'm using. Right, that one in the centre, like that. And the last one, yeah, like that. Bit snug. There we go. All right. So we'll give that a moment to dry because gravity's not our friend, and we'll come back and flip it over. All right. So it should be nice and solid now. So what we do from here, these 3 panels that go in the top. Okay. Now they don't glue in. I mean, you can if you really want to, if you know that you're never going to be changing anything, but I don't typically glue them in. What we do is put that in position like that. And we'll put one of these at one end. Whoa, it's a bit stiff. All right. Might be easier to start at one end like that. Okay, that's going to go in there like that. Now it's supposed to be stiff, but if you find it's a little bit too stiff, you can always sand the edge a little bit. There we go. Just caught on the edge there. There we go. All right. Okay, that will actually help to make it really stiff. So if you can get it in, it's worth persevering and trying not to sand it if you can help it. Right. There we go. Now, before we put the last one in, I will just explain what this is about. These are our dog bones. I should have put those in the other end, but that's okay. They go in here so you never lose them. Later on, if you decide that you want to extend with another bridge, that actually goes in there. And that one will go in the other one. Oh, here we go. Like that. And you can actually join another bridge if you want to. They're just there for that reason if you ever want to do that. So that's why I don't recommend gluing these in. Just jam them in there. You can always shove something in between, a butter knife, anything really, just to lift that up and take it apart and join it to another one. There you go. That's the actual bridge finished. All right. Now, let's have a look at how the legs work. Okay, so quite simply the way the legs work, you should have 4 of these now and 2 of these. And these 4 pins just locate into here. You can pick any combination of holes like that, but if you want to do it that way. And then what happens is it gives you a bit more height, so you can actually those in there like that. Right, and they actually slide into the end of the bridge. Right, and as you can see, it's a bit hard to tell in the image, but this is actually sitting above the bridge. So it's obviously a fair difference in height. Now that's just going to slide onto there like that. Right. Oh, it goes in there. And if you go all the way up to the back of the slot, once you push it all the way back the slot, this actually finishes flush with the end of the bridge. Right, there we go. That's the finished piece. Now what you can do is you'll find these little pieces in your kit. Right, and what you can do is you can actually pull the bridge forward like that, right to the end, so that it picks up on 2 halves of the bridge, and that actually sits in there and just adds a bit of a garnish. You feel that little bit of a difference there. All right. So that glues on if you want to use it, and it allows you to completely cover this little slot, and it just neatens it up a little bit if you are adding 2 together. So as you can see by the way that's set up now, it's actually sticking halfway out of the bridge. So yeah, that's for adding 2 bridges together. If you're not adding 2 bridges together and you don't ever intend to, you can probably ditch those and just leave it as it's supposed to be, as it's originally designed. There you go, just like that. Now you can actually adjust that height by moving those holes. You can do one end higher than the other. You can do whatever you like with those. So that's what that's for. Or if you really want to, and you've got something else that you want to put here, like some foliage or some signs or something, and you find that the height's okay, you can ditch it all together and just run it at the standard height. Totally up to you. But there you go. That's the Sydney Harbour Bridge, or the Syds Bridge as we like to call it. Obviously not an exact replica, just a tribute. If we were doing this as an exact replica, even scaled at 132, it'd be longer than my garage. So there we go. Well, thanks for watching. As you can see, it's not a very tricky build, but it is quite time consuming. So do take your time. Feel free to pause it whenever you need to, etc. And enjoy the build. And we'll see you on the next one. And as always, when in doubt, go flat out.